Yep.
I am, yeah. Welcome into another edition of the Hustle Show podcast for this Wednesday, December 13th. Another Hustle Short. I'm Mark Zeno, joined as always every Wednesday by Adam Trigger as you guys set for the card in college basketball, NBA. Of course, we got college football bowl games starting this week and along with the NFL. Adam, welcome in as always. Great to be with you on this Wednesday. How are things going?
They're going better now, Mark, that I got a few glasses of water in me. I got all lightheaded while I was doing WagerTalk today. Totally lost my spot while I was talking Jags Ravens. And then I realized that you're a gym guy. You get a good workout in. If you're not hydrated, it'll mess up your day. I didn't drink a drop of water since I woke up this morning. So I've been pounding water ever since. I feel a lot better. And hopefully I can do this game breakdown justice here in my second try.
All right. Well, we will get to yours coming up in just a moment. I want to start on the college basketball slate tonight, though, here, Trig. Curious to get your thoughts here. Creighton, 8th team in the country, is heading out west to take on UNLV. Now, a couple of interesting things about this game here. The fact that it's not on UNLV's campus, it's in Henderson, Nevada. It's part of this Jack Jones Classic. Not exactly sure what that is, but Creighton laying a hefty number of 13.5 and a high total of 150.5 here. I want to look at the Creighton team total over 81.5 here. Now, offensively, this is a Creighton team that's one of the best in the country. They are top 10 in points per game. They're top 5 in shooting percentage, 2-point shooting percentage, 13th in the country in 3-point shooting percentage, second in effective field goal percentage. This team can score. This team can shoot. They do it all well from all sides of the floor. In fact, they make more threes per game than any other team in the country. And they're going up against the UNLV defense here, Trig. That isn't great by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, they're bottom 5 in the country in 3-point shooting allowed at 41%. That's a really bad matchup here. They're in the bottom 50 in the country in a lot of these defensive metrics when you talk about opponent field goal percentage, 2-point field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, as I just mentioned. So Creighton is a team that clearly, is able to score the ball going up against a bad defense here. Also, if you look at Creighton this year, they have scored at least 82 points in 8 of their 10 games. One of the games that they flat out lost at home in a stinker to Colorado State, where I don't know what happened, but for a team that shoots so well, they only shot 27% from the field and 21% from three. It just only scored 48 points. Just throw that one out. The other game where they didn't get to at least 82 was on the road against Oklahoma State. They scored 79 in a game where Trig that they had led by 12 to 15 for the entire second half. Never really had to push. Oklahoma State couldn't do much offensively, so I think some of the tempo was the reason. But if you look at their last couple of games here, 109, 89, 79, as I mentioned, against Oklahoma State, 88, 82, 92, 89, 105. So they can fill up the bucket here. We're going to go Creighton's team total over 81.5 tonight against UNLV, against a bad Rebels defense.
Yeah, I'll just throw a couple of comments out on this game. One, I'll give them a complete pass for the Colorado State game. That game was actually, it was in Kansas City. It was the back end of one of these multi-team events, which if you've listened to me talk college basketball all season, I'm almost willing to just throw out the MTE type tournaments, because especially when you're talking about playing multiple games in multiple days, and that was just an atrocious shooting performance. Everyone's allowed to have a bad day. They had a bad day. Creighton's a tremendous shot making team. You pretty much highlighted that. They may be the best shot making team in the country, just from a pure being able, ability to knock down jumpers, knock down tough shots, hit the three, knock down the mid range shot. Creighton's right up there with the best teams in the country in that regard. And then just to speak to the Dollar Loan Center for a minute, I almost like this better for UNLV. I was at Thomas and Mack Center last year. They had 5,000 people there in an 18,000 seat arena. It seems like they don't get a very big crowd. Dollar Loan's 6,000. They played there on Saturday night. I almost think that it's a better atmosphere for a basketball game than Thomas and Mack.
Here's what I'll add about that. You may be right. However, campus officially closes on Saturday for UNLV. So we're on Wednesday. So a lot of the students who may have finals and everything done might not be venturing off campus to go to a game just because they're not there, right? I checked out their school calendar to make sure where they were and how much time they had left. So I don't know if you'll get a ton of students who do have finals left to walk off campus for a night and go take part in a game that, frankly, they probably don't really care about, that they're going to get smoked in regardless. That's just my assessment of it. I don't know if you think that that's accurate.
I mean, so I didn't see a huge student presence when I'm there when I was there. I wonder if it's probably a different crowd. It's probably a lot of Henderson locals that like maybe would want to
Right.
watch a college basketball game, but don't feel like going down to the strip
Yeah,
to
going to
Thomas and
campus.
Mack. So I think I mean our friend Joe, he goes to that venue quite a bit. He said it's awesome for basketball. Not just a UNLV game. They've had conference tournaments there, other preseason, not preseason, but other like neutral court type games there. So, it's proven to be a really good venue for a basketball game. How, if that, who that helps, who that hinders is tough to say. UNLV did lose a game there on Saturday night, though, to Loyola Marymount. So, we'll see.
All right. Well, that's my big game breakdown here. Over to yours. I guess we're going to go take two in the NFL.
Yeah, well, just because I looked down quick, had a got dizzy, and then like lost my place. So I wanted to kind of get a better crack at breaking down this game. Believe it or not, that wasn't the the dizziness talking earlier. I do like the Jaguars a lot in this spot. I do think the move to being the primetime game helps the Jaguars. And I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to play, and I think he's going to be fine. Okay, that's like the big thing that's sort of like, his status. Of course, he played somehow, Mark, somehow he played over the weekend against the Browns. Was a little bit hit or miss. Had some good moments, had some bad moments. But again, I'll focus on this game being moved to the primetime game because I think it makes it just a great spot for the Jaguars. The Ravens are a team that I think is getting a little bit overrated at this point. I think they're being propped up as like the best team in the AFC because of not so much what they've done on the field. Of course, the most recent thing we've seen with the Ravens was a 6-point win, but that win was in overtime in a game that I thought they probably should have lost. Maybe definitely could have lost. So I've got the Ravens overrated right now. And you throw this game in prime time, and suddenly it becomes like this Super Bowl type game for the Jaguars, who don't tend to get a great home field is not typically something I really look at for the Jags. But in this situation, I think it is because when was the last time the Jaguars hosted like a big Sunday night game with this much at stake right here? And so I do think you get a nice like home spot for them. And then the Ravens have to play the 49ers next week. So really like a potential look ahead spot to a game that they've probably had circled. As far as the matchup's concerned, the Jaguars, you got to throw the ball to beat the Jags. You're not going to run the ball to beat Jacksonville. They have a very, very good run defense. But I think as good as of a rushing team as the Ravens are, and Lamar Jackson's come around as a passer, he needs that run game to work to have success throwing the ball. I still don't buy him as a great passing quarterback. I think he's been able to move it through the air, but it's because they've been able to run the ball so well. So you get an elite run defense here with the Jaguars taking away the run a little bit, and now it probably becomes harder for Jackson, to get this offense going and move the ball through the air. On the other side, I mean, if Lawrence is even remotely sort of competent, capable, able to play here at to his level, I think he's going to torch this Ravens defense, which hasn't impressed me at all, and I think is sort of bound to give up points and yards through the air to Lawrence here. So you give me multiple key numbers here, Mark. 3.5 is what I locked it in at for clients. I kind of like the Jaguars to win this game, but I'll take my chances at 3.5. The Ravens have let far worse hang around this year. The Browns, blowing that game to the Browns last week to the Rams. There's no reason the Jaguars can't keep this within a field goal.
Going to be very, very interesting. I was kind of shocked at the Ravens' performance against the Rams last week. In a game in weather conditions and a sort of style that favored Baltimore, run the ball, better run defense. They got run over by Kyren Williams for a better part of that game, especially in the first half. Couldn't get to Matt Stafford. Ravens lead the league in sacks. Like, it's just one of those games where it makes me feel like my future on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl feels like toilet paper. Right? Like that game feels like it's going to show up at some point in the playoffs for them against a lesser opponent.
Yeah, I'm still not like sky high on the Ravens. I came on shows and said I would be willing to oppose the Ravens prior to the season. I still think if the Browns had not gotten just the horrible injury luck that they've gotten, I still think that they would be the best team in this division. I mean, they still have a chance, but they've had to overcome Conklin going down, Nick Chubb, multiple quarterbacks, and still they're in the mix. So yeah, I go back to my point of I think the Ravens are being propped up because they've managed to get by, like good fortune again against the Bengals. Joe Burrow goes down. They put Browning into the game. They never, the Bengals had never had a shot putting Browning into that game. Like they were never going to win that game. So you've had some good fortune with the Ravens, an inflated win recently against the Chargers. That was a 3-point game. Chargers like mismanaged their way to a loss there. And then of course the Ravens break off a run to win it by 10. Even last week, the fact that you're going to look at a glance and see a 6-point Ravens win is very, very misleading. And I think it all plays into the number here. So I'm willing to take the 3.5 with the Jags. And again, I think the Ravens are, I'm willing to call them the most overrated team in the NFL right now today. And it's because teams like the well, yeah, you could throw the Bengals in there, but the Bills, the Chiefs, all these other AFC teams have underachieved a little bit. And so we need to throw someone up there. And that someone has been the Ravens, but I don't buy that they're the best team in the AFC. And I'm going to be willing to fade them to further notice.
Well, you mentioned best team in the AFC. And I tell you, today, Trig, I went out and threw a future on the Buffalo Bills to win the AFC at plus 850. I think they're going to beat the Cowboys on Sunday. And when they do, I think they are going to end up winning the AFC East. The Dolphins are going to hand it right back to them. I just didn't like the value I was getting to win the AFC East versus to win the entire AFC, because at this point, I think the Bills, if they get into the playoffs, regardless of how they do it, I like their chances to run the table to win the AFC. So I just saw it as a better path with a bigger number. But your thoughts on the Bills here and the likelihood they can win the AFC this week?
So I should have tweeted this out. I feel bad that I didn't. I'm kicking myself that I didn't. A couple of so I'm up in Bills country here, Mark. Central New York. Central New York is Bills country. Like if you're not familiar with the geography of New York State, pretty much anyone like Utica West is a Bills fan. And I'm very much in Bills country here. And me and a couple people put a future in on the Bills to win the Super Bowl 41-1 before they beat the Chiefs. So it was a good number. Found it in a different state. Can't bet that in New York. But yeah, so I am with you, Mark. I think the Bills very well. They could be now. I mean, there's still a lot that needs to transpire, but they certainly seem to be the AFC team right now with the most upside, the most potential, the most like ability to go from where they are to being like a legitimate contender, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't hate that bet by any means. I think they're going to be right in the mix, and I like them this week as well.
Yeah, again, I think they're very live to win the AFC East at a minimum, and if they end up doing that, I'm going to like my future to win the AFC even better. All right, reminder for you guys to hit that like button and subscribe button on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Tomorrow, full episode of the Hustle Show podcast, 7 p.m. Eastern, and a reminder tomorrow, guys, it is half off Thursday. You're going to get half off all daily packages right here at WagerTalk. Site-wide, no coupons needed, no limit on how many you can purchase, but we're having a special sale tomorrow at WagerTalk, so half off all day on Thursday, ends at midnight, obviously, so jump on it as best you guys can and as quick as you can tomorrow on our half off Thursday. Again, reminder, full episode of The Hustle Show tomorrow. For Adam Trigger, I'm Mark Zinno. Appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you guys follow along on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere else. He's at Top Flight SI, and then Trig15 on Instagram, where you catch all Trig's Instagram stuff, and of course the Hustle Show podcast. I'm at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. For Adam Trigger, I'm Mark Zinno. Appreciate you guys watching this edition of the Hustle Short. Back tomorrow for a full edition of the Hustle Show podcast right here on WagerTalk TV. Good luck. Go cash some tickets. Talk to you tomorrow.